Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on sentence structure in Old English, the 11th in this series. And in this video, I'm going to look at the evidence that supports the claims concerning word order in Old English that I've made in this current series. This series called Word Order in Old English. So for this video, I'll be using some text from Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People, as well as the text of the story of Cynewulf and Cyneheard, or Cyneheard, as given in Peter Baker's wonderful book, Introduction to Old English, 3rd edition, which is a great book, and I'll show you the cover so you can find it. Now, the text I'm going to be using can be found at this link here, which I'll include in the description below the video. And the purpose of this video, in short, is just to provide some evidence for the claims I'm making in the previous videos, just some actual physical evidence you can see for yourself. All right, so there we go. All right, so just a bit of revision for a couple of slides first. Just a very brief summary of what I've been saying over the last prior 10 videos. So an independent clause can stand as a sentence on its own. We'll have a look at those, examples of those in a couple of slides' time. Now, an independent clause, or main clause, primary clause if you like, in Old English has the conjugated verb in the second place. So you have one particular option you can have is subject, verb, object, time, manner, place, reason. I've covered all this in previous videos, but notice in all Germanic languages, verb in the second place, and modern English has the same as well, verb in the second place. When two or more verbs are present, they go to the end of the sentence in their infinitive form. So you have all of the above, and then you can have the second verb in the sentence in its infinitive form here, if you're talking about present tense. And if there's another verb that goes in here, and you fill in words. Okay. There are other options to this, and I'll be pointing one out to you. Now, independent or main clauses, okay, can be joined together by coordinating conjunctions, and that's been the subject of a previous video in this series. Coordinating conjunctions do not change the word order in main clauses. Right? So in main clauses, independent clauses, we have this sort of word order. There are others possible. A subordinate or dependent clause is joined to a main clause by a subordinating conjunction, and that's been the subject of previous videos. I won't go into it here. Just move this a little bit. Subordinating conjunctions alter the word order in dependent clauses by pushing the verbs to the end of the clause. Okay, that's important. Subordinate clauses, verbs go to the end. We can also alter the order of grammatical objects in the subordinate clause, except for the verbs that must remain at the end. So it's just reinforcing the previous point. Okay, as an example, he seized one of the lions who wished to devour him. So here we have a conjunction there, which, who, which. He jelech ana leon, the ina abitan walde. Okay, so the conjunction here, the relative pronoun who acts as a conjunction, the meaning which or who. Okay, so important point here, dependent clauses or subordinate clauses have all the verbs at the end, and they're joined to a main clause by a subordinating conjunction. Next bit. Here we go. Now, the following is taken from Bede's The Ecclesiastical History of the English People, which can be found at this here, and I'll just try and remember to include that in the this link in the video depiction below. Okay, the video introduction below. Okay, so the material used here is taken from pages 2 and 30 of this PDF file. Okay, now just as what I'm going to do, as I do throughout this channel, I have the nominative in red, the accusative in blue, the dative in green. Where the instrumental appears, it's in this sort of bright fluorescent type green, the genitive in purple, and the conjunction in this gold color. So conjunctions, be they coordinating or subordinate conjunctions, will be in this goldy color. Okay, now maybe I better hide that. Okay, so here's a bit of the text I was referring to from the link before, from Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People. And I'm just going to have a look at this. So I'm going to rewrite it out using the color scheme I mentioned before. So red in the nominative, purple for the genitive. Verbs will be in the bold black. Adverbs and prepositions, I'll just put in this dark grey, okay? They're not material so much to this discussion. Okay, so Bede, Christ's servant and priest, sends greetings to the dearest King Cynewulf. Now here, notice here, we've got independent clause here. Then we have a coordinating conjunction, and or and then we have the subject. We have the verb in second place. There's two verbs here together in the second place. Then we have the accusative, and then once again we refer to the subject, Cynewulf. This is then joined by another coordinating conjunction. But coming back to this sentence here, this is one word order. Notice where the two verbs go together. Another version of this this clause begins with the conjunction here, and then begins with the subject in the nominative, and also ends in the subject nominative here. So this is the entire clause. And this sender greetan, sends greetings. Another word order that's acceptable for this is you have massa pareost sender thonaleavasten kuning Cynewulf greetan. Okay, the greetan, it's in the infinitive form of this verb here, to greet, could appear at the end here. That's also a viable form as well. Okay, so it's not. And now in the videos I've given in this series, I've always put this second verb to the end here, but it's not the only way you can do things. Some of the other videos I've made also have these two verbs together in this second place: subject, verb, accusative, and so on. Okay, let's move on now. We have here subject, accusative, sender. Okay, so the verb has gone to the end here only because there's a tendency in Old English has a peculiarity of putting the pronouns together. So each and they. So subject, read, I, the subject, Bede in this Bede in this case. They, you, the second persons are being addressed. I send you. Okay, I send to you. Okay. So, and there's this tendency in Old English to group the pronominals together, so the pronouns together. So each and they go together, which in this case, for such a small clause, sends a verb to the last place. Now, notice here that. That is a subordinating conjunction. And then that sapel, which is the news or the history, in this case, then comma, a subordinating conjunction and a subordinate clause is coming. The comma indicates that, plus that is a subordinating conjunction. Ich, ni one, adverb, new, rat, der Angelferde and Saxon. So the history which I lately wrote about the Angles and the Saxons. Okay, you, yourself, so yourself to read, okay, comma, subordinate conjunction. The verb has gone to the end. Okay, it's a subordinate clause, comma, subordinate clause. The verb has gone to the end. Okay, sometimes you might wonder, well, that's a comma there and that's a subordinate conjunction. So why hasn't this rat gone to the very end? And then and Saxon. Okay, it does happen. There seems to be this movement of verbs inwards a little bit. This is a text which is a copy of Bede's writings, and this text is probably made by about the 9th century or later. And as a result, Old English was changing from its earlier form. So the verbs were starting to move inwards, as we have today. Instead of, you'd expect, strictly speaking, you expect with a subordinate conjunction and a subordinate clause that rat would be at the end, and then you could have and Saxon. Okay, but you have to remember too, we use language to communicate. There aren't hard, fast mathematical rules about how things must always be. Even if I do present them a little bit that way on this channel, people use language to communicate. And there's no absolute rules that says it must be done in a particular way. I mean, in modern English, I could say I was running. But you know, it's not particularly wrong to say, running was I. Just simply reverse the order of the words. Maybe because I want to emphasize the word running or running was. You know, it's not particularly wrong. It's usual to say I was running, but it's not entirely wrong to say running was I. It sounds strange, archaic, odd, but it's not particularly wrong to say that. Its meaning is not unclear to us. We can make out there was something very special about running, which has got emphasised. Okay, let's keep going. And coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions join clauses of equal grammatical weight. Okay. Subordinating conjunctions add a subordinate clause to a main clause. So we have on, emtan, smeya yana, okay, to consider, to pause, to examine. And then here and notice the verb at the end there. And emtan, leisure and so on, is in the accusative. Then we go on, and erg, both of those are conjunctions, but this erg is more a subordinate conjunction, unlike and. And then here we have, again, the verb has gone to the end. And again, well, the verb's got no choice here. To lauren there is, there's only two words in the entire clause. All right. So you can see the pattern that I've been arguing for, I've been pointing out in the previous videos is holding here. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, here's another one. I like this one. Was beretene eolondo romanum uncus. I like this. Okay, so this is elsewhere, page 36 or something in that text I was referring to earlier. And notice here, if you color code these, you've got the verb right at the beginning. And verbs come at the beginning for commands or for statements. So a command, a statement, you know, like you might tell a group of people, be quiet. Notice the verb comes first. Okay, it's emphasizing the be and then quiet. Okay, so verbs come first to make statements, to make commands. Okay, and so in this case, Bede is making a statement, was bereotena eolondo romanum uncus. Eolond is in nominator, it's the subject. Bereotena is in the genitive. Romanum, the is both dative and plural. And then uncouth is an adjective, describes unknown. Okay, now, comma. Then we have a subordinating conjunction. So now we have subject, and then further more information on the same subject, otherwise known as, also called Julius, and then comma. And now we have a subordinate conjunction. The comma indicates that. The commas have been doing that all along. And then we have subject with army, sought after, came with, to seek, you know, to came. So it with army came. So came with an army. Notice the verb is at the end here, all right? And now you would expect here, you've got the verb right at the beginning again. So overran, it's emphasizing overran, okay? So overran it 60 winters before Christ's coming. Christ, before the advent of Christ here, Christ's coming, is in the genitive, okay? Christus kuma, coming, the advent of Christ. It's also a subordinating conjunction, but it can also be just an adverb, which before the advent of Christ in this case. But what's important here is this verb has gone to this first place here. Now, really, the verb does, you would expect it to be in second place. And it is in a way in second place because what it's saying is, what is overrunning? Well, the army, is overrunning. So, but the subject, it, doesn't need to be re-expressed, okay? Okay, so that can drop out because it refers back to the subject here. Remember how the coordinating conjunction, my fault, and is a coordinating conjunction, and that joins clauses of equal grammatical weight. So this clause is of equal grammatical weight to this one. So it's the it that overran, and the it is the army, of course. All right, just go on. Now, I want to come back to a little note about translation. Was beretena, now, eoland Romanum uncut. Okay, so was. Beretena is the genitive, and when with the genitive, you apply the genitive rule in translation, which means you insert the word of. So, of Britain. Okay? Bereten, Britain, beretena, of Britain. Now, Eoland, when you look it up in the dictionaries, it just says island. But in a modern translation, sometimes you have to put in the demonstrative. So, in this case, the island. The same thing, Romanum. Okay, it's dative, it's plural too, so it's the Romans. But with the dative rule, when you translate the dative, you have to supply a preposition. That's the dative rule. You supply a preposition. That preposition might be for, with, to, or some other. Now, with the Romans doesn't quite make sense. For the Romans doesn't quite make sense. To the Romans, oh, that makes sense, yeah. So you apply the appropriate preposition. That's the rule there. With translating the dative from Old English to Modern English, you need to supply a preposition. Translating the genitive from Old English to Modern English, you need to supply the word of. Uncouth is unknown, as it sounds like it might be. And then to do that, you've got was of Britain the island to the Romans unknown. Now you can make it, you can understand what it's saying there. Was of Britain the island to the Romans unknown, but to properly translate into modern English, you're going to write the island of Britain was unknown to the Romans. How do you know that? Here's the subject in red. It's the nominator. It's the subject. In modern English, we tend to put the subject first. In modern English, we read left to right. Word order is what gives us meaning and not grammatical structure like inflections. Here, people in the Old English time could look at this and know what the subject is here. Okay, know that this uncouth is the object of the verb was, because of it being the accusative, and that Romanum was the object of all was and uncouth. Okay, and then Beretena of Britain. So in their minds, that translation, the island of Britain was unknown to the Romans. They would understand what's meant by that. In modern English, this is what we mean. We have to put the island first, okay, of Britain. It gives us some more information. Was unknown. Unknown is the object of was to the Romans. We read left to right. That's how we obtain our meaning. But in the Old English period, those things could be mixed up, as you can see up here, and the meaning is still clear to them because the case system told them what was the intended meaning. So it just shows you the difference between modern English and Old English. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so for the next part of this video, I'll be using the text from the story of Cynewulf and Cyneheard, as given in this book by Bede Baker. Now, Bede Baker's a wonderful book there. The text itself can be found online as a supplement to the book. It's found here, which I think I've got we'll have in the description below the video. Cynewulf, nominative, Cyneheard. Now, see again, nominative in red, the accusative in blue, the dative in green. Where I need the instrumental, I'll not much on this channel, but I'll do it in this sort of fluorescent green. Genitive as always in purple, and for me the conjunctions will be in this gold orange color. Okay, let's have a look over. Okay, so I've got here, I hope it's not in the way. Okay, so now this is for the entry for 755 AD, but I think it was actually meant for 757. I think there's an error there. But this is from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Now, that was started under King Alfred a couple of centuries after this event that's been spoken about here took place. So Old English had moved on quite a bit. But however, patterns are still clear. Look, subject, first place, verb in the second place. Here is just an adverb which modifies this subject. Here, Cynewulf, meaning in this year, Cynewulf, took berucht, his kingdom, okay, or deprived, I should say, this individual of his kingdom. coordinating conjunction on. So it's going to join something of equal grammatical weight. So the West Saxons, the Weirton, that's wise men of the West Saxons, along with wise men of the Anglo-Saxons, the West Saxons, for unrighteous deeds, except for Hamptonshire. And again, see, we keep going on, and now we join another clause of equal grammatical weight. Subject first, verb second, right, accusative here. Okay. Then we have a subordinate clause, a subordinate conjunction. Now this is joining a clause, a subordinate clause, in which we expect the verbs to go to the end. So what we have here is a bit of a mixture of both. We have the subject here, and then a verb in the second place, and then a verb at the end. Okay. Sorry, my fault. We have here subject and verb, and then we have the accusative. So it's like a normal independent clause. And then we have here a subordinating conjunction, and that throws the verb to the end, of course. There's only a couple of words there, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Coordinating conjunction. So I notice the word order here. It's accusative coming first, then there's the subject. But notice here the verb's gone to the end. Here again, generally the structure's being held, except that here in this one, the verb is near the end, but not quite at the end. Often locations can come after that last verb. Okay, funny that. And then we move on. Here we go. Now we have a independent clause. We go again, same thing. This with is acting can also be a conjunction. It joins by barit walum, and so on. But generally the pattern is holding. You're having verbs in second place, subjects, verbs in second place. Now here, sometimes a clause can be broken and the subject reappears again. And it's like a new clause. So, hey, Walda Adaravan. So here, an independent clause here, then another independent clause right next to each other. No commons, no ond, nothing. Just joined together. But you can take it as an independent clause. Verb in the second place, everything else following. Who relative pronouns can act as conjunctions. Was, Cyneheard, Harten. But here, generally, the pattern is holding, even at this later stage in Old English, verb second as in all Germanic languages, and other verbs to the end. And in subordinate clauses, generally, verbs all going to the end. Keep going. A few more here. Again, same sort of pattern, except that we want to emphasize here, the speaker here is emphasizing asking, asked he, and then everything else follows. Here, verb there. Here we go. Now here, subordinating conjunction is going to throw the verbs to the end, and that's what we have. Okay. Then another subordinating conjunction, verbs going to the verb or going to the end. Here, again, occurring that. Okay. Subordinating conjunction, and that's going to, comma here indicating subordinating conjunction, even though word and is present. And then the verb gets thrown to the end. Same here, we keep going. Here, oth is a subordinating conjunction, and the verb is thrown to the end. Ond is a coordinating conjunction, so the verb doesn't need to go to the end. Same here as well, although the verb has. Same here, verbs have gone all to the end. And this, in this case here, it's the past participle. Okay, were fighting. Okay, that's indicating that something is occurring in the past, is an action completed in the past. Then we have othat, a subordinating conjunction, which throws the verbs to the end. That's what happens. And here we have that. And we have the verb appearing in odd place right in the middle there, a bit unexpected. But as I said, there's no hard, fast, absolute rule. People can use language how they want to communicate what they want. But generally the pattern is verb second place, other verbs to the end, and for subordinating clauses, verbs all go to the end. Generally, that's the pattern that you see. Did I go too fast? Whoops, I might have gone a little too fast there. Again, some more examples and see how verbs are getting pushed to the end, or they're in second place. On they're the king, okay? But on the whole, the pattern holds. Their verbs all to the end. What else have we got? Same thing here again. Verbs in second place or being pushed to the end. Say subject, okay, and so on. This is just all this stuff here. So Offa was Thinkverthing. That means Offa was the son of Thinkverthing. Thinkverth, Eonwulfing. So Thinkverth was the son of Eonwulfing, and so on. That's how those are interpreted. All right, wonderful book. So I do recommend it. Quite a few books I recommend as well. But anyway, just providing some evidence. I'm going to have a look at in future videos, perhaps look at some more of Bede's writings and just do the same sort of analysis wherever things are positioned. All right, I think that's it then, done.